my God, they moved Heidi right next to me now.
Although Heidi seems serene,
she's a bit naughty.
she uses an ancient folk remedy to help calm her down.
Heidi is back.
Well, hello and happy Tuesday, everybody. The first day of July, which I cannot even believe we're already here. It'll be Thanksgiving before you know it. Heidi Glaus here with Josh Gilbert. Bob has the week off. We've got Joe over running the controls, and we've got a fantastic show for you. First up at 3:30, we're going to talk to the director and CEO of the St. Louis County Library. You know, as the temperatures kind of reach those crazy numbers, a lot of people are trying to figure out where do we go, what do we do to pass the time indoors because you didn't want to be outside. And St. Louis County Library has everything you could possibly want. So Kristen Swarthel going to run through all of the things they offer. It's not just books and it's not just author events. There's so much for all ages, whether it's story time for the little ones or a book club for the older ones, and then everything in between from, you know, genealogy to fun, cool stuff with a green screen and making videos for kids. So we'll go through all of that coming up at about 3:30. In the 4 o'clock, as we do on Tuesdays, we'll be joined by the editor of the St. Louis Business Journal, and there are a lot of catchy headlines today. The one that probably astonishes the most, 300 people going to kind of be impacted by St. Luke's in Des Peres closing, and what kind of jobs are they going to be offered? Are they just out of luck? We'll find out what Eric from the Business Journal knows.
I don't know how hospitals work. And that's a massive understatement, actually. But St. Luke's or a hospital that closes, are they for-profit hospitals? Are they just like regular businesses and they say, oh, yeah, this is underperforming and they'll cut it? I don't know how, like a casino, how does a hospital go out of business? Are there just more people than ever are going to hospitals and racking up huge bills and stuff? How does a hospital in like rural hospitals? Everybody's talking about that these days.
Yeah.
This is right in the middle of Des Peres, you know? So I don't know.
think that there are more options when you look at how many different players have come into the game of healthcare. Look at urgent cares, which we didn't have for so long, and that takes away. You also have more of a concierge service with doctors. You know, you can do different things. So we'll talk to Eric about that, and I can't relay any of those insights myself, but I do have a couple of friends that are in the business side of hospitals, and it is that. I mean, trying to keep these things up and running and the cost of healthcare for the rest of us, it's astronomical. And just making a tweak here and there to your insurance, you see the difference. So we'll talk to Eric about that story and a couple other ones that caught our attention. We'll also check in with Royal Oaks. What's going on in the Diddy deliberations? I don't know if you guys are watching this or not, but it's finally there. The jury is deliberating, but I know that they've passed a note or two saying we're concerned about this one person, not really following so we'll get the latest in that story. It seems like a soap opera.
And Bob's not here, so I'll put his tinfoil hat on.
Oh, boy.
He's the conspiracy theorist on the show. But in his stead, could this be a Diddy plant? Did someone get to this juror? Did someone say, hey, you know, muck up the gears of justice here and you get a fat payday. He still got a bunch of money.
Yeah, but a fat
He's got a
payday,
lot of-
somebody's finding that out.
It's got a lot of intimidation factors.
I don't
half
wanna
of this
think
half
that
of this
way.
trial is about intimidation. Remember when he set Kid Cudi's car on fire?
Well, there's a lot of that, but the prosecution has also dropped several of the charges. That's what I want to know. What are we doing there? So we'll talk to Royal and get his insight on that. We'll also check in with Alex Stone. Brian Koberger is taking a plea deal, admitting guilt, but the families are divided on this. I know one of the dads is like, he doesn't even want to be in the judge's courtroom. He said he'll be there, but this is not what he wanted. I know another parent said no, this isn't how they see justice. So we'll get the latest on that crazy story.
And Alex has been in Idaho already because of that tragic shooting of those two firefighters. So he just kind of went south a couple miles.
And I don't know what I was looking at. I don't know if it was the Post or one of the TV station's websites today. And it reminded me of that awful situation we had in Maplewood. How many years ago was that? 15, 20 years ago.
I bet it was 20.
Where there was a fire and same kind of thing. It was, a person being picked off when the firefighters got there. Just an awful situation. You kind of move along in this life and you forget about some of these awful things that happened right here in St. Louis.
But back to the Koberger trial, I cannot speak to the parents because obviously they lost children, and I hope to never be in their place one day. But he's admitting guilt. He's going to go away for the rest of his life. He has pled guilty.
Except now the death penalty is off the table. But I think...
What do they want? Do they want blood? Do they want eye for an eye?
I know one of the sisters said...
I want him dead?
She didn't say those words exactly, but basically...
But that's what they're saying.
That my sister can't talk and make friendships. He can be behind these prison walls and he's still going to be able to have conversations and move on with his life. You know what I would like? I think when you say, yes, I did it, I want the details. What were you thinking? Why did you do it? Not just saying, yes, I did it. Were you infatuated with one of the girls? Did you just want to know what it felt like to kill someone?
Why?
What was going through your head?
Why this house?
Yes.
But as a family member, we want to know that because we're obsessed with Dateline and we're obsessed with...
Don't you think the family wants to know that too?
Do they? Once they find out, does that help them sleep at night, or knowing grisly details of what happened?
Well,
does that make it worse?
The other thing, and I think Royal can talk to this, is prosecutor is not exactly friends with the family or working with them. They're making decisions, and I was watching this kind of unfold on the Today Show, in the best interest, but it's not like they're working with you, and if you want X, they're going to make sure you get X if you're the family left behind. They're making these decisions, and the family really doesn't have that much say, is what I was taking away from this story today.
And the little I know about the legal system, he is being tried by the state, or if it's a federal case, being tried by the country. He is not being tried by the families. They could go after him in a civil case, and then it is the families versus Brian Koberger. But right now, he's being tried by the state. So to your point, sometimes it doesn't matter what the families want.
Absolutely. And I agree with this person on the Woods Basement Systems text line, 84126. So ironic. He wants his life spared. I mean, that's probably the main reason he is taking the plea deal. He does not want the death penalty, even though he took the lives of 4 people. Somebody said, yes, he should be put to death. He brutally murdered, slaughtered those young lives. So, yes, Josh, as a dad, I want to see him dead. He slaughtered these girls.
Okay.
So, I think it's a very interesting one, and we'll break that down a couple of times. We're also going to check in with the president and CEO of Missouri Budget Project. So the Senate has now sent the big, beautiful bill, if you will, back to the House to be passed. And we've talked a lot about it. It's been in the news. But what does it mean for us here in the Show Me State? And we're going to talk about that coming up at 5 o'clock, 5:10 to be exact. We got some entertainment news, and then we will wrap this show up with some randoms as we typically do.
But the Missouri Budget Project doesn't just do federal stuff. Mike Kehoe, the governor, came down and vetoed a bunch of stuff from our budget here in Missouri. One of the things being, was it $7 million for the airport to get that whole project?
And then there's also something about a police training facility. So we'll find out how, those decisions are affecting St. Louis as well. So lots of stuff to get to. And hopefully you'll hang out with us and be a part of it here on the Heidi Glaus Show. Minus Bob with Josh. A few things since it's a new month. Things to look forward to. Amazon Prime Day is next week. It's 4 days this time, running from July 8th through the 11th. When did we go from 1 day all the way to now 4? And do you wait for Amazon Prime Day? If there's something on Amazon right now, I know if Marsha's listening, she's like, well, I know somebody doesn't around here. I see it and buy it.
Let me tell you this, precautionary tale. Mm-hmm. I bought a TV on Amazon Prime Day. It was an Amazon Fire TV.
Was this last year?
This was 2 years ago.
Okay.
Specifically bought it because it's a big TV, but it's small enough to fit under my arm, and I can carry it in and out the house. So when I'm grilling or watching a football game, I can watch it.
Isn't it amazing how light TVs have gotten? When it used to take 3 people to lift that console TV, and now you can pick it up with one hand.
This is a 36-inch television, flat screen. I had a 36-inch tube television that, again, took 3 people.
Right.
My friends still talk about the day that they decided to help me with this TV. But I bought this Amazon Fire TV on Prime Day, and it was like $200. I couldn't believe the deal I got. It is the worst television I have ever had.
Really?
And maybe if I stuck in a Roku or something, but the software on this TV.
So it's about the software. It's not about the picture or the sound.
No, picture's fine, but it takes forever just to load anything. And then halfway through something, it pauses and glitches and goes back to the home screen. The worst software on a television.
Okay. And none of your other TVs do that? It doesn't have anything to do with your home Wi-Fi?
Nope. None of the other TVs do that. So I'm thinking about sticking a Roku stick in it. I've got extras at home.
What kind of TV is it?
It's, I don't know what kind of TV it is, but it's a Fire TV loaded with, that's Amazon's own software. And it's loaded with their stuff. It is just so bad. And not that I regret buying it. I do. I do regret buying it. I'm still able to watch.
What would have been better, in your opinion? What's the TVs that
maybe spending $300 on an actual TV that works?
Get what you pay for.
I know.
As far as that.
So be careful, everyone, when you're buying Prime Day deals. Maybe if it's too good to be true.
Yeah. Somebody said Prime Day. We have to pay for that wedding, LOL, which is hilarious.
So
314.
Kenneth C. Davis is going to join us on Thursday to talk about 4th of July.
Yes.
Independence Day, as I like to call it. And he was on vacation a couple of weeks ago. I know you wanted to get him on for Juneteenth to talk about that holiday. And I said, well, where were you when you were on vacation? He said, I was in Venice. And I said, I had no idea you got invited to the wedding. But he said he was there 3 days beforehand. And when we get him on the phone, I want to ask him, was it a mob scene even then?
I have seen a couple people just visiting, happening to be there at the same time, and they were doing interviews on TV saying it was kind of fun. There were celebrity spottings, and it made the trip a little more exciting. Now, I know the residents there were not having it and were ready for everybody to get out because it brought so much chaos. But I don't know.
Did you hear the stories about Tom Brady?
I did hear the stories about Tom Brady.
Sydney Sweeney? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Dancing till 2 a.m.?
I mean, so they say.
So they say.
I did not see it with my eyes, so
well, if she starts turning up to football games that he's broadcasting, we'll know.
Will we?
No.
Okay.
We'll have a good idea, though.
In sports, Wimbledon is underway, and you just said big
Yeah.
lost to kick things off in the first round.
Coco Gauff, two-time major champion. Coco Gauff loses in straight sets to someone who I can't pronounce their name. But that was the opening round of Wimbledon, and she's done, right? This is it. This isn't like, she doesn't get into it's not a round robin.
There's not like a loser's bracket and you fight your way up.
Right.
Yeah, so that is underway. Always exciting. You've got Tour de France starting this weekend. You've got Major League Baseball's All-Star Game coming up in a couple of weeks, the Open Championship, the WNBA All-Star Game, which is in Indianapolis. And I don't know if you've seen this.
Do you think they did that on purpose?
Oh, probably, yes.
Caitlin Clark
They've
plays.
already put a full-size basketball court in the airport in Indianapolis, which is really cool.
Just for fun?
Yeah, just to say here we are, and I think that's pretty big. Lots of big movies coming out this month. You've got Jurassic World Rebirth opening, James Gunn's Superman.
I do want to see it.
That reboot comes on the 11th. I Know What You Did Last Summer, Fantastic Four, First Steps, Happy Gilmore 2, which I think that's going to Netflix on the same day. We've been talking about how that affects the movie theaters. And finally, of course, all the holidays, 4th of July coming up. But don't forget, National Fried Chicken Day on Sunday. Yeah.
I've never tried making it myself.
Fried chicken?
But my
seems
mom...
so...
Remember that giant tub of Crisco that everyone's mom had?
Oh, yeah.
We don't own Crisco. I don't even know what you use it for.
Well, you would fry stuff in it because when you put that big scoop into the pan, it turns into oil and you're frying.
That makes sense. The house would smell terribly.
For a long time.
And that was fried chicken was my birthday meal. What was yours?
Lasagna.
Lasagna.
Still is.
Fried chicken was mine, and so she would make it for me. And
but she doesn't do it anymore?
No, and I think I've moved on from the fried chicken.
You've changed.
I might be a lasagna guy now.
Okay. Well, look at us.
Yeah. So I've never tried fried chicken, but my brother made chicken tenders, did the whole batter and everything, 3 different sauces, quite the spread. So now I'm curious about getting into frying. Although I'll have to put a big box fan pointing out the window.
Yeah, or just maybe do one of the big pots outside. Don't bring it inside.
Well, anytime we make bacon, it hangs around the house the whole weekend. So
yeah, it's hard to get that smell out of the house. It's like frying fish, if you've ever done that. But a lot of times my dad would fry the fish outside.
Well, that's good. That's good. My first house did not have an exhaust fan in the kitchen. And what it did, it sucked it up and then spit it out the top of the microwave. So, and apparently it goes through some sort of charcoal, whatever, to minimize the smell. But it didn't do anything. It just hung around my smoke detectors went off every time we made bacon. So I'm glad that our new house has an exhaust fan that goes outside. But I can't imagine making anything like that if you didn't have an exhaust fan.
Yeah, it'd be tough. Got to open the windows. That's what we used to do at my grandma's.
You've got an old house. Do they have an exhaust going from the stove?
There is a fan, but I'm not sure it is really. I think it does more circulation than it does remove all of it. But, it's neither here nor there. I'm not really cooking a lot. Let's be real
you don't want
honest.
to try the fried chicken? I'll bring you.
If we're going to eat fried chicken, we're probably going to go get it at Hodak's or somewhere else. We're right there.
Want a big tub of Crisco?
Don't. Yeah. No, it's not my. That's not my jam. You guys, I hope you'll hang out with us here. We've got lots to get to, and I want you to be a part of it. You're actually the most important part of it. And don't forget, you can also catch us on the Big 550 KTRS TV on YouTube in case you want to not just hear us, but see us. We'll be right back with Kristen Sorth, Director and CEO of the St. Louis County Library.
Carney, fuck.
Wednesday on the Carney Show, we kick off a couple of days of hanging with TV people. Laura Hediger pops in to visit with us for a while. We'll have our Johnnies, of course, and scary movie fans. Hysteria Fest headed this way. Maximilian put a mic in their face, and we'll find out what that's all about, too. That is the Wednesday edition. See you at noon.
John Carney, Julie Buck. Weekdays at noon on KTRS. The talk of St. Louis.
Scott, remember when the Queen of Carpet and the Princess of Pile were flying around the arch selling flooring?
Andrea, that was the Queen of Carpet and the Princess of Tile.
Oh, that's right. But we don't need shtick here at Best Buy Flooring.
That's right, because our in-stock selection of carpet, carpet tile, sheet vinyl, laminate, hardwood, luxury vinyl plank, and luxury vinyl tile are already at low, low prices.
Come see us at our 3 area locations, North County, South County, and Metro East. Open 7 days a week.
Plus, free financing on approved credit. Best flooring, best selection, Best Buy Flooring.
Look at our alums, the contributions that they have made throughout industries in the St. Louis region.
Terry Freerks, a graduate of the University of Missouri, St. Louis.
UMSL is embedded in the fabric of the St. Louis community. We're hands-on, and when our students graduate, they are definitely career ready, but maybe more importantly, they're career confident.
More is what moves us. Find your more at more.umsl.edu.
You're listening to the Heidi Glaus Show with Josh Gilbert and Bob Ramsey on the Big 550 KTRS.
It is 3:30. Time to get a check of traffic with Captain Paul.
Crash on westbound 64 past Hampton is still blocking the right lane with traffic slow back to Kings Highway. Road work on eastbound 5570 at the exits to 64 and Illinois Route 3 has the right lane closed and traffic backed up across the Poplar Street Bridge to 14th Street. There's road work on eastbound 5570 at Illinois 203 blocking the 2 right lanes, and southbound 55 is crowded from Gasconade to South Broadway. This traffic report is brought to you by Club Fitness. Club Fitness is the premier health club in St. Louis with 24-hour access at all of their 19 locations and endless amenities. You will see what everyone has been talking about. Stop by today. Sign up online at clubfitness.us. From the KTRS Traffic Center, I'm Captain Paul Kopsky on the Big 550 KTRS.
And now, KTRS weather from the John Beal Roofing Weather Desk.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We've got a nice quiet night tonight, low down to 69 degrees. Near normal heat for Wednesday, a high of around 90. Not overly humid, light winds, and mostly sunny skies. And a touch hotter for Thursday, mostly sunny and a high of 92. That's the latest from the First Alert.
All About Books. Kristen Swarth is director and CEO there and joins us with all the summer fun that awaits. Thanks for making time for us this afternoon.
Of course. How are you all?
We are fantastic, and I got to just tip a hat to you. You have hosted some amazing authors lately, and there's more to come, including Reese Witherspoon.
Yes, that's kind of amazing. That is not in our branch, but we're helping to promote. I know, isn't that amazing? It's always fun when you get an email that came to Carrie, our author event manager, and I actually got included on that one too and said, Reese is coming, and we were hoping that you'd partner with us, and we were like 100% yes.
Oh, because I got to tell you, I love the books that she picks out, and if it has her little stamp of approval, that's the first book I'm going to grab.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I like hers and I like Jenna's
yes.
too. But it'll be really, really, really fun, I think. And it's great that she's coming to St. Louis. It's not a huge book tour, so we're excited that she's going to be here.
Somebody texted me the other day. They said, did you know Jimmy Fallon has a book club? And does anyone trust what Jimmy Fallon is reading? I'd like to see what that list looks like.
Is it kids' books?
That's what I said. I said it must be a bunch
of... Because he's written a bunch of kids' books.
Might be a bunch of children's books. But will you get to meet Miss Witherspoon while she's in town?
I I think I might.
You'll have to come back and tell us everything.
Can we meet Miss Witherspoon?
I got to meet Al Roker a couple weeks ago. He did an author event.
Yeah, and was he kind?
Oh, he's so nice and so sweet. And I got to do the onstage interview with him, and I was a little starstruck. Like, I try not to freak out, but I freaked out a little bit and told him I told him I'd get myself together. But just exactly like you think he would be, like, so incredibly nice and funny, really funny.
I love that. Tell us about the STL Summer Adventure Series that you have going on.
Yeah, we have this great partnership with St. Louis Public Library, and we combined our summer reading clubs for the first time last year, and so it continues this year. So it's for kids 0 to 17. We have all kinds of activities and reading logs for different ages. So it's like 0 to 5, 6 to 12, and then 13 to 17. And it really lets people pick the way they want to do their summer activities. So there is, of course, reading activities, but there's also plants and animals, and then there's unplugged, which is like making music or creating your own scavenger hunt, and then there's community, which is things that I love, like visit a library you haven't been to before, or go to a community garden, those kinds of things. Go to the art museum, go to the Magic House, and then they can track their progress along the way, and then they get prizes, and they get entered into a grand prize as well. So very fun. And then we have an adult reading club as well, and everybody who registers gets a book, and then they also track their progress and have a raffle as well. So
That's
all kinds of fun things to do at the library.
Fun. And Kristen, I always like reminding people about the Library of Things. I think people are shocked to know that you can, check out a fishing pole or a telescope or a fort making kit. What else is in the Library of Things?
We have, we've added a couple of new things. I can't remember if we talked about this last time, but we have GoPro cameras that you can check out and graphing calculators. We have dyslexia kits now.
Wow.
In case people need some additional assistance. And then we just added, I have to get this right because I'm feeling old here, but we have
Don't we all?
Tonys. I think they're called Tonys, and oh my gosh, I can't remember what
Okay,
they're
the
called.
Tonys are these little. They look like little characters, and you put them on the Tony box, and it reads you a story. We've got Disney ones. We've got the pigeon who didn't want to go to school. It's got songs and everything. They're about a half hour long piece.
And it actually reads to you?
It reads the story. It plays some of the music. It's really cool. My niece is obsessed. My son really loves it.
And we have Yodo, too, which I think is kind of along the same line. It kind of reminds me, I'm really dating myself, but do you remember like the cassette tapes where you could read along with a book?
Yes.
And it's a much better version of that.
Remember Teddy Ruxpin?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Is it like that?
It's kind of like the modern day Teddy Ruxpin.
I think Teddy was kind of creepy.
Yeah, I agree.
We would always, while he was reading, we would try to stick our finger in his mouth and see if we could
break him.
Well, no, see if we could get it in and out before he, finished his sentence.
Yeah. That's something I think boys do.
That's very creepy, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Kristen, what else is going on at St. Louis County Library? Because there's always something.
Yeah, we launched a really great expansion of our e-pop-up library. So it's something that we launched last year where we have QR codes at the airport and in St. Louis County government offices and on MetroLink and then at Schnucks. And this year we expanded to all of the hospitals and healthcare facilities that support children and their families and caregivers. So Ronald McDonald House, Rankin Jordan Pediatric Hospital, Shriners, Cardinal Glennon Children's Hospital, and they will have QR codes with a curated collection of materials for kids and their families and caregivers, and so they'll be able to download material, audiobooks, books to start reading. And the suggestion actually came from someone at Children's Hospital, and we were like, why aren't we doing that? It's such a good idea because, we have such world class health medical facilities.
Yes, we
that
do.
We've got people here from all over, in some cases, the world, with kids that need assistance. And so now we're just making it easier for them to read books.
So, classically speaking, libraries, they have books in them. And now with the Library of Things, where you can rent a telescope, you can rent a fishing pole, the multimedia stuff where you can go onto Canopy, and with a library card, you can stream a bunch of classic movies. Is the mission statement of the 21st Library different? Books probably still always number one, but are you guys like there and you say, we want people to come here to learn?
Yeah, we're trying to expose people to all kinds of things that they may not think about, and we do that through our author events, we do that through our programs, and through things you can check out, and then through books, and also just being able to be inside a building that is dynamic and fun and interesting. We have some really, we have Battle of the Bands. We brought back Battle of the Bands, so teens can submit a selection to be selected to participate in a Battle of the Bands competition at the Clark Family Branch. And then we have we have all kinds of gaming classes and a gaming tournament. So we're trying to turn people's view of a public library upside down and also make reading fun. I think that it's important to get people into the buildings and to get them connected with public libraries really early, and we want to do that by making it a fun place to go.
Well, you are definitely doing that. And somebody on our text line, library also has classes. I just signed up for a quilting class. That's from Betty. I have to say, last year when we went to Finland, the library is where they go to do everything. And I feel like the Clark Family Branch has really become that with all of these, extraordinary things like the Genealogy Center. And then you have the really cool media stuff for the kids where you can make videos. And that's what it was like in Finland.
Yeah, Finland, the libraries there are amazing. And they have been doing that for decades. So, they were way ahead of the rest of the world, I think, in terms of what they were offering to their patrons. And we're definitely trying to do that. And, it's fun. I think we talked about this before, but it's fun during finals to see 100 kids waiting to come in to the library to study. I actually have a picture we have that outdoor reading deck at Clark Family, and a bunch of teens took some whiteboards outside and were out on the outdoor reading deck studying and using the whiteboard out there.
How cool.
So, that's not something that you expect, really,
yeah.
to see kids doing that.
Yeah, and quilting, what does that have to do with books? Nothing, but it's all about experiences and learning and being a better human overall. I think that's the real mission of the library these days. The new branch has a really cool kids area, and for someone who has a 4-year-old, this really appeals to me. On a rainy day, Kristen, what can I expect to bring Finn to when I come into the Clark Family Branch?
I was there on a rainy day a couple weeks ago, and
they all seem rainy these days for whatever reason.
True. You will find an amazing, darling little built-in town with a restaurant and a vet and a grocery store and a fire station and a fire truck and all kinds of books to check out and a magnetic gear wall and really fun places to sit with your with your kids and read. And there's cubbies for kids to get into to read. And then we have interactive screens with all kinds of educational games. So it's very fun. It's very loud. Like it's not a quiet, that children's area is not quiet. It is filled with kids laughing and being happy.
I think that's even a better sound than the quiet of a library.
I'm used to loud now. But I live in St. Charles County now, but if I have a St. Charles County library card, can I come in?
You can come in. You really don't need a library card to come in a building. And we have reciprocal borrowing with every library district in the region, St. Charles included. So you can come get a St. Louis County library card. You can check out books from us. And our patrons can check out books in St. Charles. And we have that with St. Louis Public Library in the city, Jefferson County Library, Scenic Regional, which is like Franklin County. So we really want to encourage people to get a library card wherever they live and use whatever library they want.
Well, we cannot thank you enough for being a partner with us here at the Big 550. And, of course, you can stay up to date with everything happening at the St. Louis County Library at slcl.org. Kristen, thank you so much.
Oh, thanks for having me on, and have a great summer.
Yeah, and happy 4th of July.
Same to you.
One thing, Cardinals baseball. It's more than a game. It's an STL tradition. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, the boom of the fireworks. It's the soundtrack to summer for Cardinals Nation. So grab your cap and glove and take your spot.
Not one of those things was in the bag.
Did they ask you if you wanted something?
Nope.
Last time I was there, they asked me if I wanted au jus. And I said, oh, yeah, I'm glad you asked me. Yes,
Yeah.
I do. New York City, D.C., Denver, Chicago, the whole state of California and Washington have implemented, they call it skip the stuff
Yeah.
rules. And again, I love the idea. We throw half, if not most of this stuff away without even looking at it. But am I going to get a salad and then get back to my desk here at the office and say, where's the fork? Am I going to get soup and there's not going to be a spoon because I forgot to ask for it? And the transition to this thing is going to be complicated for both us and the workers because they're probably going to throw it in there out of habit. And it says you could face steep fines if you're caught
Accidentally putting it
accidentally putting
So
stuff
what I
in
hear
there.
you saying is this affects you. You're going to forget to
Well,
ask.
I am the consumer, right? And the customer's always right, right? So this is going through Delaware. It probably is going to make its way to Illinois and possibly Missouri at some point.
Do you want to share with all of our friends on the other side of this how many spoons and forks and plastic, I don't know, bags of
Utensils, yes.
utensils you have
Yes.
right now?
I hoard them because
I feel like this is an irrational fear that maybe you should talk to somebody about.
I don't think so. Do you remember that story of, I think it was Amy Klobuchar. She was running for president. She never really made it that far. And she was at an airport and her assistant brought her a salad and there was no fork. And apparently she berated the assistant, but then she proceeded
I can't see her berating anybody.
That's what I said. But she proceeded to eat the salad with a hair comb from her purse.
I do not recall this at all.
You don't remember this story?
No. A hair comb?
I'll look it up.
Please do, because I think you're making something up.
I'll look it up. I specifically remember thinking, how could you possibly eat a salad with a comb? But what do you think? And how many packets do you actually keep? Do you have a drawer that's
No,
got
we do
hot
not.
sauce packets? And
Nope.
Finn loves sweet and sour from McDonald's, so I always keep a emergency sweet and sours in case they forget to throw it in the
In
bag.
the car?
No, I keep it at home
Well, why not just buy a bottle of it?
because he likes the McDonald's one, and the packets from McDonald's are free. So skip the stuff. Might be heading to a state near you or a city near you. Just remember, let's start practicing now. When you go to the fast food places and you need a fork, say, can I please get a fork? Because if this goes into action, that's what we're going to have to do in the future.
These are Josh's problems,
Yes.
also known as first world problems. Coming up, we've got our headlines, and we'll also talk to Eric Seamers, editor of the St. Louis Business Journal. A couple of headlines making news and kind of piquing our interest. We'll share those and get to the bottom of those stories at about 4:20.
Everybody loves good barbecue, and everybody wants to know where the next great barbecue place is. And if you're looking for an overnight sensation, it's only
who say they don't like the way that this bill was changed.
President Trump praised the bill's passage.
the first day of July. The Art of Farewell. Celebrate Art Holiday's 46-year career on July 15th. You're invited to a lighthearted roast celebrating the one and only Art Holiday, who is retiring after an incredible 46-year career at KSDK. 5 on your side. From his early days as a sports reporter to anchoring Today in St. Louis and eventually leading the newsroom as news director, Art's journey has left a lasting impact on generations of journalists and viewers. So a panel of KSDK vets will share their favorite stories, some unforgettable moments, and a few well-aimed jabs at the man of the hour. It should be a fun evening of laughter and memories, and you are invited Tuesday, July 15th at the Missouri History Museum. There will be a happy hour at 5, followed by the program at 6:30. I hope to see you there.
Are you on the dais? Do you have a couple of jokes lined up, Heidi?
Working on it. Working on it.
Are you gonna speak?
Mm-hmm.
You are?
Mm-hmm.
When's the last time you talked to Art? What's he gonna do?
I think he's going to finally enjoy himself. The man's been working since he was,
Well, 46 years, 47? 47, 46?
46, I think.
How old is Art Holiday?
I cannot say.
Okay. We talk about it all the time. You and I can't wait for retirement.
Yeah.
People put it off because they don't know what to do with themselves. Darren.
He'll never retire. He
Never
can't
retire.
sit still now, and he's got 17 jobs.
But it'd be nice to see Art, kick his feet up.
He'll
Finally.
probably do documentaries. I mean, he's still working on the Johnny Johnson documentary, so maybe he'll throw himself into that because he's been having to do that kind of in his spare time, which he hasn't had much of. But that will be a fun night if you're around.
And a movie like that's about the music, to clear all the musical rights for that, I'm
it's
sure
such a headache.
Such a headache. And you can't. Didn't they do the Jimi Hendrix biopic but never get the rights to the songs? What's the point?
It's a tough one.
Why do a Hendrix bio if you can't play Jimi Hendrix songs? You could probably do Red House or, the ones that are blues covers. But All in the Watchtower, I guess you call Bob Dylan and ask him if you could use
maybe.
Wall Street Journal has a new report out talking about the battle to keep consumers as prices are rising at the grocery stores. You're now seeing 6 different sizes of Lay's potato chips.
Is that really how many there are?
All right, so I'll get into what they all are in just a second, but they say when the chips get so expensive, you price people out. Then they buy the store-bought brands, or they maybe just don't buy potato chips. So now they're making smaller bags of
Smaller
chips.
than the snack pack?
Smaller bag, like they're intermediate sizes. Smaller bags at a lower price point to get people to keep buying the chips. Now, they claim the customer knows that it's not the full bag that they're used to buying, and that's why the price is low. Remember shrinkflation?
Oh, yeah.
Where they would shrink the bags, but not the price.
Mm-hmm.
This is their idea of meeting us in the middle. We'll give you less. We'll charge you less, but you're getting less. Lay's has 6 different sizes. The party size.
Okay.
The family size.
Of course.
Then the regular bag.
Mm-hmm.
And on the bottom end of the spectrum is the snack bag that, is in with our, hot dog.
Right.
Whatever. Then there's 2 other sizes.
Like the kind you get at the gas station.
Probably the kind at the gas station or at the front of the checkout lane or whatever. And it's their way of saying, look, we know you can't spend enough on the big bags, so we'll make 6 bags to keep you as customers rather than lose you altogether.
Do you look at the price of a bag of chips at the gas station if you want chips?
Never.
Me either.
Never. I'm sure I wouldn't get them if I did, though. But what I do is I've gone to looking at the price per ounce to say which size should I get or should I not, Because if I'm buying olive oil, I'm going to need olive oil. Is it worth it to just go with the biggest box, or should I get 2 of these small ones?
So you're the guy standing in the aisle.
I am.
Trying to do that math
I am
as
that
we
guy.
all try to get around your cart.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. That's when my butt's sticking out because I'm bending
you probably
down.
didn't pull the cart over close enough to the shelves.
I'm squinting at these tiny price tags. Milka chocolate, which I've never heard of, but it's a Mondelez product. They have like 6 size chocolate bars ranging from prices to under $1 to $6 for a chocolate bar. And it's not Ritz, Oreos. They all have multiple different sizes to say, hey, if you can't afford the regular size, we're going to create a size that you can't afford. So
okay,
be wary and on the lookout at the grocery store. There's now 6 different sizes of bags of potato chips.
Somebody, by the way, pointed out that McDonald's wraps are back, and I did see they were coming back, but I did not know they were back. I used to enjoy them. Haven't had them, obviously, since they left. But
I read a story 2 days ago that said wraps are the worst form of sandwiches, and they had a whole thing.
it was an opinion piece?
It was an opinion piece, yes.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think they're healthier, and that's
They
not
do.
necessarily
But that
the
tortilla
option
that it's wrapped in could
That's
be up to
right.
300 calories by itself.
You were talking about Art and what he's going to do in retirement. I hope he travels, and I know his first phone call will be Altair Travel and Cruises, because that's where, all the cool people go, Josh. Altair Travel and Cruises, because they really can help you, one, figure out where you want to go. If you don't know and the world is kind of yours, but you talk to friends, then you talk to Altair Travel, and they'll give you the true kind of lay of the land of when's the great time to go. And if you like X, Y, and Z, well, then you're probably going to really enjoy this place. But if you are more into resting and relaxing and you really like, fine foods, well, then maybe you want to try this place. Altair Travel and Cruise has been doing this now for 40 years, and they have so many different agents, and they've all been different places. You can go to altairtravel.com. It'll kind of say, oh, Sherry can help you with the Disney cruise, or maybe it's the Cardinal cruise or spring training. And then Haley has been here and can help you figure out just the right place. I didn't even realize that they'll set up an entire ski trip if it's that time of year and you want to go to Colorado and go snow skiing, and even have your skis rented for you so you don't have to waste the hour and a half trying on the boots and getting all of that. You can just check in and go. I mean, it's all of those little things that Altair Travel and Cruises does that make a huge difference. They can also save you a lot of money because they know the time to book those flights. They kind of know the best ins and outs and the times of year to go to different places, and they just have connections that you and I don't. So as you start to think, oh, I can do this myself, think again and at least call Altair Travel and Cruises, 314-968-9600, or go online to altairtravel.com. Coming up, we're going to talk to the editor of the St. Louis Business Journal about a couple of headlines that caught our attention. I think you'll be interested in them as well.
Permajack of St. Louis is synonymous with foundation repair and basement waterproofing across.
One, two, three, four.
haven't kept up with increases. No, that's commercial insurance issues that are a real challenge. Now, I don't have any information that suggests specifically that's what led to this St. Luke's to pair hospitals struggles, but those are certainly things facing hospitals in general.
And how many St. Luke's hospitals are there in the St. Louis area?
That's a good question. I don't have that number in front of me.
But obviously, these people who are impacted, I mean, it's going to be a longer commute. It might not be the exact job. They're going to be working with different people. So it's definitely not a great situation.
No, and it's any time a place closes, there's going to be a lot of disruption. That's for sure. I think that noting that there, for example, is a hospital in Chesterfield. They're not going to have to go. In some cases, I would assume many miles away, but it is still a disruption for sure.
And then, Eric, those people who that was their hospital, they'll be assigned, or their doctor will be moved somewhere else, and they'll just have to go somewhere else.
That I don't have those details either.
Yeah. Let's go on to a happier story, especially for beer lovers. They're going to be really happy with this, I think. Urban Chestnut is going to acquire O'Fallon Brewery's beer brands.
Yeah, that's a really interesting move by Urban Chestnut. Of course, understand Urban Chestnut. They've been around, of course, for quite a while. But they also were recently in bankruptcy and were acquired out of bankruptcy by a new investor who is putting money into the brand. They're updating a lot of their physical spaces, their beer garden in Midtown, their Grove Brewery in the Grove District, and putting a lot of money into that. And this is sort of really an interesting move for them to acquire O'Fallon Brewery's brand, because that brand that was started by the Caradonas, who Fran Caradona went on to be CEO of Schlafly. So a well-known beer-making family here in St. Louis, but they had a couple of really beloved brands, particularly this pumpkin beer.
Yes.
Now, I think we've talked about this before. I'm a big craft beer nerd, and I could talk about beer every day, all day, and not get bored by it. Pumpkin beers are one of those things I've just never appreciated. But I know, Josh, you're over there. I know you love it.
Eric,
but,
O'Fallon's pumpkin beer was the best one on the shelf. Even when you stack them up, and I think they were the first ones to do it, at least here locally. And now everybody and every brand has their own pumpkin beer. But I still think O'Fallon's was the best. So I'm happy that Urban Chestnut.
That really speaks to the brand affinity right there. That's the reason why Urban Chestnut would pursue it, because they know that people really were drawn to that particular product, especially in the fall. And of course, they had a whole host of well-received beers. A lot of their wheat beers were very popular. They did a pretzel beer that I know was a novelty, but I've met some people who just really loved the idea of a pretzel beer. So the O'Fallon Brewery certainly had some cachet and fell under the same struggles that a lot of craft brewers deal with. Especially if you rely too much on shelf space at a grocery store, for example. Craft beer is getting less and less shelf space now as other beverages have come in to compete. And that's why you're seeing a lot of other breweries try to diversify their brands into different products. In this case, Urban Chestnut sticking a little bit to its core, but they're adding spirits and more of that to their brewery restaurants, their brew pubs, as part of this new investment. So they're starting to try to realign their product portfolio at the same time to kind of overcome some of these market challenges.
Eric, any idea who is investing in Urban Chestnut?
Yeah, it's a gentleman named Brian Travers who he decided to buy them out of bankruptcy through an LLC he created called Keg Holdings. I can't remember the whole story behind Brian Travers. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
But he has been really devoted to really turning that brewery around.
And I'm kind of shocked that they even filed bankruptcy. Every time that I've been there, it's been crowded and hopping, and so I'm glad that it's kind of getting its new life.
Hopping, Eric.
Yeah, I got that.
Yeah.
I did catch that.
The O'Fallon Wheat. It was a wheat peach beer. Loved it.
Yeah.
Peach.
Yeah.
Oh, it's peach. Busch Light has a peach beer.
Yes, I know they do.
Peach flavored beer. I'm on board.
I'm not, but
Yeah.
it's another debate for another time.
Yeah, I'm with you, Eric. Let's move to the Missouri Athletic Club. They're going to open a third location.
Yes, last week they announced that they have an expansion to Clayton. It's a deal they had long discussed, but it didn't really get finalized until this announcement last week. The MAC, of course, has its original location in downtown. That's their clubhouse, which opened in 1916, is
It's
on the National
gorgeous,
Register.
yeah.
It is, yeah, National Register of Historic Places. And then they expanded into a Town and Country at the former Town and Country Tennis and Racket Club back in 2004. Now, we talked to them a couple of years ago when they were looking at expanding into Clayton. And this Clayton space was the former St. Louis Club that they're taking. This is a building that is in the Pierre Leclerc Center at 7701 Forsyth Boulevard, right in downtown. That was acquired last year by David Hoffman's company, Hoffman Commercial Real Estate. For those of us who are familiar with the Hoffman family and their push into Washington, Missouri, in that area, and Augusta. That's his commercial real estate arm, and so they bought that building last year. St. Louis Club had exited that space in 2023 to open a new space in Centene Plaza, also on Forsyth Boulevard in Clayton. So this is kind of MAC taking over a space that was used for similar purposes prior to that, so that they could expand their own operation to their own members to another community. And they took a vote of their members which I found really fascinating, to just see if everybody was on board, if they were on board with this move, and if it would be utilized, and if it would be necessary. And they said they got a significant part of their membership participated in the vote, and an overwhelming majority voted to create the Clayton space, which they said was really a testament to their membership had a real investment in the club's future.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, does that mean that there are more members than ever, that they can actually, keep 3 clubs going?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I don't have the answer to that. I know that they have around 2,000 members and their families, and then they also have about 400 staff members. And it would suggest that I think some of it too has to do with location.
Yeah,
now,
I agree.
I mean, the Clayton location is especially if I have to assume that a lot of the clientele of the MAC maybe are perhaps a higher end clientele and perhaps already work in Clayton, for example. I could see the real benefits of that if you're a member. But the downtown facility still has a lot of great cachet and a lot of just appeal to being there. It's really stately.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Well, you can read more about what's happening in business news in our area online at bizjournals.com/St. Louis. Anything you're excited about that you're working on right now?
This week you're going to see in the Business Journal a story that's really examining CEO pay of public company executives in an analysis that compares it to the company's performance. And you're going to see which CEOs sort of you get the most bang for their buck. If you're a public company, an investor in public companies. It's a really interesting analysis of how St. Louis executives are compensated.
And Eric, I love seeing this because companies that do poorly still pay their CEOs through the roof, and it just doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what those numbers look like.
Yeah, for sure. And you'll see that in the Business Journal, probably online on Thursday, and in our print edition this Friday.
All right, Eric, thank you. We'll chat next week.
All right. Thank you, guys. Take care.
I'm excited about this. The Big 550 and Salvation Army have teamed up for Christmas in July to collect toys for the Salvation Army Angel Tree Toy Town that distributes toys every Christmas to those in need. So please join us in supporting this great cause and donate an unwrapped toy this July. You can drop your toys off here at the Big 550 KTRS studio, the Rawlings Experience, which is right across the hall in Westport Plaza, and at Altair Travel and Cruises in Brentwood, and you can do that all month long.
Hi, I'm Jeff Zufall, Senior Tax Strategist and Wealth Advisor at Capital Advisory Group, and the author of the #1 best-selling book on taxes, Keep What's Yours. Let us show you how tax-smart investment strategies can protect your wealth. Give us a call at 636-394-5524, or you can visit us on the web at capitaladvisorygrp.com.
Keep What's Yours, Saturday afternoons at 3.
4:34. The show is moving right along, but is traffic, Captain Paul?
Well, we do have a few issues out there, Heidi. The latest is an accident on northbound 55 at Park and 7th Street with traffic backed up to the 44-55 Gravois merge. There's a crash on eastbound 44 past Jefferson, blocking the two left lanes. Southbound 270 is heavy from north of Olive down to Manchester after an earlier crash at Manchester. Westbound 70 is crowded coming in from Illinois to the Museo Bridge. Road work on eastbound 5570 at the exits to 64 and Illinois Route 3 has traffic backed up across the Poplar Street Bridge to Jefferson. There's road work on eastbound 5570 at Illinois 203, blocking the two right lanes. And southbound 55 is crowded from Potomac to Gasconade. This traffic report is brought to you by Dents Express. If the recent storms have you saying, oh, hail, bring your car, truck, SUV, or van to Dents Express for a free hail damage repair evaluation. Dents Express will have your ride looking like new again, and they'll even take care of the insurance paperwork. That's Dents Express at dentsexpressstl.com. From the KTRS Traffic Center, I'm Captain Paul Kopsky on the Big 550 KTRS.
And now, KTRS weather from the John Beal Roofing Weather Desk.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist for Wednesday, a high of
20. And at Rufino'sPainting.com.
You're listening.
Exactly right. It's they tried to have what they call a partial verdict earlier this afternoon. And in federal court, that's legal, where they say, okay, judge, let's announce in open court a few counts, the verdicts on those, and then we'll go back and work harder. The judge said, no, it's too early to do that. That's kind of a last resort. But either way, whether they announce it early or announce it all together, bottom line is, yeah, they're entitled, the jury, to vote unanimously 12-0 for guilt or not guilty. But if they say guilty on the four lesser counts, then boom, he's going to be sentenced probably in the neighborhood of 5 to 20 years for those. And then, as I say, almost certainly the judge would permit a second trial. Almost certainly the prosecution would push for it, at which point he could then be convicted in addition to all those of racketeering down the road, and we'd all be putting up with another Diddy trial.
So, Royal, I don't know how closely you've been following this particular case, but when it comes to sex trafficking, is he being accused of his ex-girlfriend, Cassie? Would she be the one that was being trafficked? How did that work? And by all accounts, the defense just said, look, our client is a jerk and a bad boyfriend, but he's not a criminal.
Yeah. So it was alleged in the trial that his girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, plus a woman who went by an anonymous name, Jane, were both victims of sex trafficking in the sense that they were coerced into prostitution, sexual activity. Now, it seemed like a weak part of the case because when you think of sex trafficking, you think of some poor woman in Port-au-Prince, Haiti,
yes,
being snatched into a brothel in Miami and chained to a bed, and that's sex trafficking, whereas these women were romantic partners of his. But it sounds like, if my speculation I expressed earlier turns out to be right, it sounds like the jury was convinced that there was so much violence and coercion, and we saw the horrible beating tape. They beat up Cassie Ventura in 2016. So the jury knew that's what he was capable of. That's what the prosecution led with. I mean, it was an endless loop the first week of the trial 7 weeks ago. So, yeah, it could be that that's the way this jury is going.
And Royal, can you explain? I think it was, less than an hour into the deliberation that the foreman came out and said that there was a juror that was unable to deliberate. How did they then get this juror to do so, or did they replace him?
Yeah, the report was that the foreman seemed to think that this 51 veterinarian, a guy with a PhD in there in Manhattan in some scientific field, I think possibly neuroscience, that he had such a severe accent that he really wasn't able to communicate with people. And the judge heard this and basically said, yeah, you guys have been together for 7 weeks. You can work it out. And so he stayed on the panel. So that was a big issue, but now it's turned into a nothing burger.
Okay, let's switch to the other kind of crazy case. Koberger is now going to take this plea deal, and the parents, at least half of them are not happy about this, but do they actually have a say?
Well, they have a right to be heard and give input, and they're furious because they claim that they really weren't respected. Their input wasn't considered, and certainly the decision by the prosecutor to do a deal with this maniac who killed 4 people, they're not happy because their attitude is, this guy's going to wake up and look at the sunshine, sunrise through the bars every day for the rest of his life, and our family members are dead. So you can't blame them for being angry. And we're not really sure why the prosecution would go along with this, since the evidence, as you know, is so huge against the guy. His DNA is on the knife sheath, and he on surveillance camera. He's been seen, stalking them and then driving hurriedly away from the scene. So no doubt he's guilty, and he's pleading guilty. So why not go for the death penalty? He has Asperger's, apparently, form of autism. He's on the spectrum, and maybe the government figured, it'd be a tough putt to try to get this guy to get a death penalty verdict out of a jury. And let's just, not put the families through the trial, but sounds like at least some of the family members were willing to put through themselves through the trial in order to get that kind of justice.
Could the judge reject the deal and force a trial?
Yeah, very, very rare. It's happened a handful of times in American judicial history that the prosecution and the defense go arm in arm to the judge and say, good news, Your Honor, we have a deal, life in prison, no parole. But the bottom line is the judge almost certainly is not going to go along with that.
And avoiding trial in a case like this, which would have been, we think the Diddy trial is all over TV. This one would have too. It's captured the country's attention. Is avoiding trial preferable in a case that would go on like this?
Well, it depends on your perspective, the time, the expense, the risk. And by the way, to clarify a second ago, I meant to say that almost certainly the judge will take the deal.
Yes.
It's very rare for the judge to say, no, we're going to have a trial on the death penalty.
Well, it is all very interesting. A busy day when it comes to legal news. Royal Oaks, thank you so much.
You bet. Thanks.
It's also been pretty busy for the folks at Dalco. They are constantly at work, but they also want to help as many people as possible when it comes to roofs, when it comes to siding, windows, doors, and I'm talking all kinds of doors, front doors, sliding doors, French doors, and even remodels. Dalco Home Remodeling has you covered. They can do it all. They've been around for more than 50 years and always been family-owned, family-operated. What I love most is that they are a local company that custom makes their doors and windows right here in the Show Me State. For years, their slogan has been, if you buy somewhere else and find out how much you could have saved at Dalco, you'll blow your stack. So if you are in need of a new roof or need somebody to come out and give it a look, if you're in need of new siding, or maybe you're just ready for a change with a front door, make Dalco Home Remodeling your first phone call, 314-648-8113. You can also go online and see some before and after pics. That's at DalcoHomeRemodeling.com.
If you are looking for that one-of-a-kind gift this year, come on in to Newsletter's Fine Jewelers. Let Richard draw your future present for somebody you love. This special at the corner of Big Ben and
Whoa. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Spike in orders of graham crackers, marshmallows together. And of course, you got to have the chocolate. That's the best part. But it brought back a memory because it was probably 11 years ago, this time of year. We were in our very first RV, and I wanted to take my niece and nephew somewhere. So we thought it'd be good because they were only 5 and 7 at the time, that we'd be close to home. So we went out to Jellystone, and it was so hot. I mean, so hot. But to be a fun aunt, you've got to make the fire, and you have to have s'mores. Now, you guys know me by now. You know that my desk is perfectly clean.
Yeah.
Probably Lysol it once
Daily.
or twice a
day.
week.
Once or twice a day.
Same thing at the house, in my car, in the RV.
You take medication.
Yes. So
For
trying
this.
to be the great aunt, the fun aunt, we get out all the s'mores with this adorable 5 and adorable 7-year-old, and we're around the campfire, and that marshmallow is everywhere. Every finger, and you don't just wipe that off. You don't just get a wet paper towel.
No,
And-
that's like Gorilla Glue.
Yes.
Yeah.
Trying to, it's almost like you wanted to, no, I didn't, put their hand kind of over the fire and let it melt off. I realized that would not be the best option for this, but I must say it probably was the last time we ever made s'mores.
I don't eat them.
You don't? You haven't done it with Finn, though? It's so much fun.
My wife does it with Finn, and we've got this fire pit that you could just turn on the gas.
Yep.
You know, I don't have to build a whole fire. We've
You
done.
can't let the marshmallow drip on that, can you?
No, you if you do it right, the marshmallow doesn't drip. But we've done it at least 3 times this season already, and my wife and Finn love it. I never eat it because it's so sticky.
It is
I
so
hate
sticky.
sticky things.
I know. And I thought, well, we have to have this experience. We have to do it once. And we did it once.
And that was the end of that. We'll probably have s'mores this weekend. It is s'mores season.
Back in the days when I was young, I'm not a kid anymore. But some days I sit and wish I was a kid again.
Tell you, it's Independence Week.
Yes, you're not saying 4th of July.
No, and it is July 1st. Back in the day, on this date, in 1963, the U.S. Post Office began using 5-digit zip codes.
What did they do before that?
Well, before 1943, they didn't do anything. St. Louis, Missouri.
That's it.
Period.
Wow.
In 1943, they instituted 1- or 2-digit zip codes. And then by 1963, they realized we got to go to 5. And now you ever see these 5 digits, then a dash, and then 4 more?
And there have been things that have made it to my house that way. I've never added those other 4.
No. Like the post office adds them for you. 1979, the first Sony Walkman.
It was 79. I would have guessed that as being 82 or 83.
And I'm guessing it didn't have. When did tapes come into play?
I don't know, but I think mine's still in the basement somewhere. It's yellow. It is Sony.
Oh,
Got that wire over the head, kind of.
Yeah. I had the Sony Discman.
Oh, I never had a Discman.
Portable CD player.
Yeah.
It skipped every time you took a step.
Of course it did.
1988, "O Canada" was proclaimed the Canadian national anthem. It's later than I would have thought. And 1984, the PG-13 rating was created because of movies like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, Gremlins. There wasn't anything in between PG and R. And so Temple of Doom was PG. Gremlins was PG. So they created PG-13, and the first PG-13 movie was Red Dawn. Remember that? Patrick Swayze?
I don't think I've ever seen Red Dawn.
Never seen Red Dawn?
No.
Patrick Swayze, C. Thomas Howell, the Russians come, or maybe it's North Koreans. They come into mountainous Colorado for some reason. And the kids, Heidi.
They're the ones that fight them off.
They saved the day.
How'd they do it, with computers?
No, they had AR-15s and AK-47s.
Got it. Never mind.
Yeah.
All right.
Galmish and Sons have been...
Explain a few things there. Coming up in the 5 o'clock, we're going to talk to the president and CEO of Missouri Budget Project. We'll find out what this big, beautiful bill means for us here in Missouri. We'll also talk about some of Governor Kehoe's cuts and how that affects us. Then we'll also check in with Alex Stone, talk a little bit more about this Brian Koberger plea deal and how that is affecting the families. That's all coming up in the 5 o'clock. I hope you'll hang out with us here on the Heidi Glaus Show with Josh on the Big 550 KTRS St. Louis.
Galmish and Sons have been providing quality heating and cooling services since 1950. They work exclusively with Lennox, the preferred choice of St. Louis homeowners. Call Galmish and Sons for your next Lennox HVAC installation and service. 314-993-1110.
Shop Overstock Outlet, a family-owned business and the best random store around where you'll never know what they'll have. New products arrive daily from the big box stores. 2 locations in Lake St. Louis and Warrenton. Overstock Outlet wishes you a happy and safe Independence Day while we celebrate the freedoms that so many have fought so hard to protect.
Hello, I'm Joe Cordell, founder of Cordell & Cordell. Divorce is complicated, especially when your small business or professional practice is involved. At Cordell & Cordell, we understand that these assets raise unique valuation and allocation issues. For 35 years, we've helped doctors, lawyers, and small business owners navigate divorce with confidence. Call Cordell & Cordell today because your business is more than a job, it's your legacy.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. 600 Kelwood, St. Louis. CordellCordell.com.
Both Chapel wants to wish you and your family a safe and happy 4th of July. They've been providing compassionate and professional funeral and cremation services to the St. Louis community for over 100 years. For more info, go to BothChapel.com. Happy 4th of July from Both Chapel.
The Frank and Jill Show.
Join us for Wednesday's program. Sarah Fensky, the executive editor of St. Louis Magazine, will join us, and we are also talking movies with our Back to the Feature segment with Tariq Khan. The movie this week, Airplane.
Frank Cusimano and Jill Farmer, weekdays 10 to noon, right here on KTRS, the talk of St. Louis.
Understanding where life insurance may fit in a comprehensive financial plan. Life insurance may be more than a safety net. It could also be a powerful tool for building wealth, protecting loved ones, and even saving on taxes. Whether it's term or permanent life insurance, choosing the right policy is an important part of your financial journey. At Pioneer Wealth Management, we're here to help you make these smart decisions for today and tomorrow. Call us now at 314-619-1283 or visit us on the web at pioneerwealthmanagement.com.
Let's talk about legacy. Yuengling, 196 years of brewing. Family owned for 6 generations. That's elite. That's first ballot Hall of Fame status. But even the legends evolve. So meet the next generation of light beer. Flight, just 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. This isn't some watered no flavor regret in a can beer. Flight is crisp, clean, and actually tastes like beer. It's time to level up, St. Louis. Flight from Yuengling. DG Yuengling & Sons, Pottsville, Pennsylvania.
TRS St. Louis.
Jurors in the sex trafficking trial of Sean Diddy Combs have ended deliberations for the day. The jury sent a note to the judge saying they reached a partial verdict on all counts except for the racketeering charge. The judge instructing jurors to keep deliberating. ABC's Rena Roy is in Lower Manhattan and says the jury sent another note earlier.
They wanted to see the transcripts of Cassie Ventura's testimony. It was harrowing. It was graphic. It was very emotional. Many called her the prosecution's star witness. It was because of her civil lawsuit that federal prosecutors even started looking into Sean Diddy Combs in this trial.
Deliberations resume tomorrow morning. A House committee now reviewing the amended budget bill passed by the Senate.
After a marathon voting session that lasted more than 26 hours, the Senate passed the massive measure by the slimmest of margins. 3 GOP senators voted against it, but Vice President J.D. Vance cast the tie-breaking vote in favor. The bill now goes back to the House, where conservatives and moderates have their own issues with some of the changes that have been made by the Senate, including a $5 trillion increase in the debt ceiling and a Congressional Budget Office price tag in excess of $3 trillion.
ABC's Stephen Portnoy, the president, praising the passage of the bill. The man accused of killing 4 University of Idaho students in 2022 due back in court tomorrow for a change of plea hearing.
On Wednesday, Brian Koberger is expected to walk into this courthouse and change his plea.
folks who are working to qualify.
Is this bill going to affect Missouri more than other states, or is it pretty even among the 50?
You know, every state is going to be different, but
Okay.
in Missouri, I think it's particularly difficult. We don't have the state budget or the revenue to make up the difference between what the federal government is going to cut and what we would need to spend in order to maintain services for folks. But I also think with our rural areas, you know, in our rural communities, hospitals, healthcare clinics, mental health facilities all really depend on Medicaid for a portion of their funding. And as people lose coverage, that means that those hospitals and clinics are going to see cuts.
Yeah.
And many of those are running, you know, on slim margins already.
When it comes to the rural hospitals, are you saying that they will have problems because people who fell off Medicaid won't come in anymore?
What it means is they won't get reimbursed for their services. Folks who are uninsured will still go to the hospital, but they're likely to go to the hospital when they have a catastrophic illness rather than for preventive care. And that means that the care is going to be much more expensive, and hospitals are going to have to eat that cost because they're required to serve everybody.
Yeah, we're talking to Amy Bluen, President and CEO of Missouri Budget Project. And Amy, you mentioned that Missouri won't have the extra funds to kind of supplement where the federal money is being cut. Yesterday, Governor Mike Kehoe cut $511 million out of the state's new budget. I mean, how does that affect you and me?
Yeah, absolutely. So those budget cuts, some of which were vetoes and some of which were spending restrictions, were really across the board. There were some small cuts in K through 12, much higher reductions in higher education, cuts to public transportation and road improvements and capital improvements at everything from airports to universities. So it was sort of across the board. But for a family, what that means is you're going to run into more potholes. You know, you're going to have you may end up having more difficulty accessing care for your child who has autism. There are real consequences for people.
And I've always said, Amy, that the point of taxes, in my understanding, is the basics: roads and hospitals and or airports and bridges. And that stuff was cut out. What was left in?
Well, there's a lot of funding that was increased for K-12 education this year. There's a bill that was passed a year ago by lawmakers requires a different level of funding, if you will, for our local schools. And so there was a significant increase for that. But largely what you're seeing is the effect of flatlined revenue. So our revenue last year was, that we just finished the year yesterday, was essentially the same as it was the year before, which means there was no money for any increases, including inflationary increases.
Got it. I think Governor Kehoe also cut out, I believe it was like $7 million for the future project with the St. Louis airport. Do you know anything about that?
Just a little bit. Yes. So that was one of the items that was restricted rather than vetoed.
Got it.
What that means is that if revenue increases this year, it may be able to come back.
Okay, that makes more sense.
So when they make cuts to Medicaid and just kind of boots on the ground, does this mean that when I go to the hospital and I'm on Medicaid, I'll pay more out of my pocket and they'll cover less? Or does this mean that they're cutting people off the rolls entirely?
Yeah, both things could happen. There are about, as I said, 170,000 people who are expected to lose coverage entirely. But for those who maintain coverage on Medicaid, many of the folks are going to have to contribute co-payments for services that have never had co-payments before or had much smaller co-payments. And as costs are shifted to the state and Missouri is unable to make up or pay those costs, we could see additional benefits cut for everybody across the board, or cuts to other services in an attempt to try to maintain Medicaid.
And this is really hard to understand all of it because it's so big and it's so nebulous sometimes. But wasn't there something going around where in other administrations they were offering states extra money for Medicaid and some states didn't opt in for that? Could Missouri opt in for that at this point?
Was that the Medicaid expansion funding? Yes, we did receive that.
We did.
So,
okay.
Yes, we have received that. But part of the issue that we face in Missouri is we've had a significant series of tax reductions at the state level over the last decade, and so our revenue decline is really tied with that. And where we just don't have room for the services or increased costs, like what we're going to see with the federal legislation.
Got it. Well, Amy Bloom, we certainly appreciate your time this afternoon and kind of clearing up these muddied waters for us. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Galmish & Sons have been providing quality heating and cooling services since 1950. They work exclusively with Lennox, the preferred choice of St. Louis homeowners. Call Galmish & Sons for your next Lennox HVAC installation and service. 314-993-1110.
When you want to send flowers to a loved one for a birthday, anniversary, or that special occasion, call your friends at Walter Knoll Florist. Walter Knoll is family-owned and operated and offers custom designs by expert designers. A huge inventory and selection that only the largest florist can offer, with quality and care that no grocery store florist can meet. They have several locations in the St. Louis metro. That's
the defense came to prosecutors and said, let's make a deal. That they wanted a deal with the death penalty, which here in Idaho is firing squad, which is fairly new. He would be among the first to be sentenced to that if he were to be given the death penalty. And it was very clear he did not want that and had really been fighting the death penalty part of it. Now, the family members of the victims, they are angry. And Kaylee Gonzalez's family, her father is very outspoken, saying this is not what they want, that they were told on last Friday that there might be some discussions about a plea deal, but then they were not consulted, and that Sunday night they got an email, and it was in the form of an email from prosecutors saying it's a done deal, there will be no trial. They want there to be a trial to know, and they're hoping that it would come out at trial, what the motive was in this. We may never know why and how did he know these victims that he killed, the 4 University of Idaho students. Where was the murder weapon? Where is it now? Is it hidden somewhere? I mean, just so many aspects that we may never know unless he comes clean at some point from prison. But they also wanted to get the death penalty. They think he deserves it. But he'll get 4 life terms for the murders. He'll get 1 10-year term for burglary, for entering the home in Moscow, Idaho, on King Road, and then committing the murders. He could change all of this tomorrow and come into court and say, you know what, I'm not going to plead guilty, but if it goes according to plan, he's agreed to it now, that he will come in, say I'm guilty on all of this, and he will not get the death penalty, and there will be no appeals moving forward.
And that's the thing with the appeals. If they went to trial, he could appeal. The appellate process is long and could go on for years, so that avoids that. But we've been talking here in studio, Alex, do these people want the death penalty as justice for their loved ones? Did they want a trial just to get conviction by a jury, and they think that would provide closure? But to your point, if they put him on trial, would he still have to answer all these questions anyway, or could he plead the fifth?
Yeah, and he might not even get called to testify, and he could choose not to testify in his own defense. So that there is no guarantee that any of this would come out at trial. Really, both sides get a win here. For the prosecutors, they get a conviction that he will be convicted. He will go to prison for the rest of his life. With a jury, you never know. That the evidence can look strong, and then jurors come back and have issues with certain things and have doubts, and it's not 100%. The appellate part of this is a big deal, especially being a death penalty case, that if he were to be convicted, it would be decades that this would be appealed over and over again. There would be automatic appeals that would kick in right away. All of that goes away. No appeals will be allowed, and he will just go off to prison for the rest of his life. On the other side, for the defense, he doesn't have to worry about the death penalty any longer and being put to death. So for the two sides of the attorneys, this really works out well. But for the families, one, they want the death penalty badly. They think he deserves it. But two, they want this thing. It was going to be a 4-month-long trial that we were here in Boise to cover. We expected to almost move here come August. That it's something that they wanted every little detail to come out and to understand what happened to their daughters and their son.
And I do understand that part. Alex, is it your understanding? I mean, we've watched the defense throw everything out there, and the judge kind of said, come on, that isn't, possible, or, this can't be the truth. Do you think they finally just kind of threw up their hands and said to him, look, you don't really have a case?
Yeah, time was running out. They tried everything. I mean, they were trying to get it delayed and get the case tossed out over and over again and claiming that police misconduct. I mean, they did what their job is. Mm-hmm. They tried every aspect to get all of the evidence tossed out, even claiming that when DNA was taken from his father's home in Pennsylvania, his mother and father, that the DNA out of the garbage can on the street was illegal to do that. Well, it's fully allowed that once you put your garbage out on the street, that it's anybody's property at that point, and that police can go in and take a DNA sample out of it. So it's things that are long-standing aspects of how investigations are done. They claimed indictments are illegal. I mean, they claimed everything. Yeah. And in the end, the judge said, look, you're really grasping here. And it seems like now that we are a couple weeks away from the trial beginning, finally they had to throw in the towel and say this isn't going to work.
And we'll follow you. I'm sure you'll let us know if Kohberger does speak and tell the families what they want. He's quite the psychopath, actually, at this point, and a lot of them just want attention, so maybe he will tell all. But you were in Idaho for other reasons this week, that terrible, tragic ambush of those firefighters. I don't know if you got to jump here, but any updates on that story?
Yeah, so they're still trying to figure out motive in that one as well. That Wes Rowley, the suspect in that, who is now dead, that they want to get into his vehicle, which, as the ambush was going down, the SWAT team members actually pushed his vehicle off a cliff so he couldn't get back into it and escape. So they've got to get that up and begin going through it. They've been looking at some social media profiles. They do believe he wanted to be a firefighter. If that played a role in him calling 911, or it may have been him or somebody else, but setting the wildfire and then getting the response that he wanted. And as firefighters came in, hitting them, I mean, like a sniper and taking them out. If there was something about being obsessed with firefighters, wanting to become them, had he had a bad interaction, had he been rejected, they have not found any records of him applying to be a firefighter anywhere, but his family knew he wanted to be one. So they're trying to put it all together right now. But still, one of the firefighters hit is recovering. He's stable now. The other two are dead. And, I mean, it's a very bizarre situation.
Yeah, a lot of heavy stuff there in Idaho. Alex Stone, thank you so much.
You got it. Thanks, guys.
Meep, meep. It is 5:30. Let's check back in with Paul, who's been rather busy in the KTRS Traffic Center.
Yeah, it has been a busy day, Heidi, and they just cleared an accident on westbound 64 at the Boone Bridge, but there is residual congestion back to Clarkson. Southbound 270 is heavy from north of Olive down to Manchester. Westbound 70 crowded coming in from Illinois to the Museo Bridge. Eastbound 70 bogs down approaching the depressed section downtown. Road work on eastbound 5570 at the exits to 64 and Illinois Route 3 has traffic backed up across the Poplar Street Bridge to Jefferson, and southbound 55 is crowded from Gasconade to South Broadway. This traffic report is brought to you by K. Zander Jewelry. Give your cherished jewelry a fresh start. At K. Zander Jewelry, we breathe new life into vintage mountings with stunning gemstones. Discover the magic today at K. Zander Jewelry. From the KTRS Traffic Center, I'm Captain Paul Kopsky on the Big 550 KTRS.
Sometimes we feel sluggish or just not quite like we used to, and it might be time to optimize your hormones. Premier U and the experts there have been helping women and men get back to feeling their absolute best. Premier U specializes in personalized hormone optimization, and in case you don't know, because I didn't, it can help boost energy, improve mental clarity, and enhance your overall wellness, because when your hormones are balanced, your life just kind of feels better. Now, Premier U does so much more than hormone optimization. They also can help with weight loss. And I know by now you've heard of all of the medical weight loss medications. I'm talking about Ozempic and Wegovy. But what Premier U does is offers you a generic, less expensive option. And I got to tell you, I was reluctant at first. And then when I started using it, it not only curbed my appetite, it curbed my drinking, it helped with inflammation, and I immediately started to feel better. I now am getting into clothes that I had put in a box ready to donate, thinking I would never get into those clothes again. I'm telling you, if Premier U can help me, they can help you. So call Premier U at 618-750-LIFE, 618-750-LIFE. Be sure to mention KTRS, or go online, premierumed.com, premierumed.com. What are you waiting on? Start feeling like you again. Dare I say, you might even feel better than the old you.
And now, KTRS weather from the John Beal Roofing Weather Desk.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We've got a nice quiet night tonight, low down to 69 degrees. Near normal heat for Wednesday, a high of around 90. Not overly humid, light winds, and mostly sunny skies. And a touch hotter for Thursday, mostly sunny, and a high of 92. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton for the Big 550 KTRS.
John Beal Roofing is the home of the lowest price roofing guarantee. Get a free estimate today at johnbealroofing.com.
cold beer. We'll see you at the Village Bar.
Let's talk a little entertainment. It was 33 years ago today, in 1992, A League of Their Own was released. And it is one of those movies, if it's on and I'm flipping through, it's going to stay right there because it's so good.
Is it your favorite movie?
No, it's probably not my favorite, but I just love it so much. And it's relatable. It's when I was playing softball that
Right.
it came out. So my whole team went to see it together. It just is so many great memories.
Batter up, one and all.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one. F1 made $144 million worldwide,
Whoa.
which is a career best opening for Brad Pitt.
Wow.
So I was trying to think of some of his other big movies that just he has kind of been the lead in.
Once upon a time in Hollywood, that's a Leo movie.
Yeah, I mean,
would
there's
say.
a lot of other people. You look at a lot of them, and George Clooney's in it, or somebody
Yeah.
else is with him. But maybe I'm just
Mr.
drawing
and
a
Mrs.
blank.
Smith.
You got Angelina Jolie.
I'm going to look for Brad Pitt's discography,
Okay.
if you will. But anybody have any interest in seeing F1?
Yeah, I want to go and
yeah.
I want to see it at the theater.
I was talking to Bob before he left. I'm not a race car guy.
But I heard you don't have to be.
Yeah.
That it's got all the good stuff in it.
Yeah.
But director James Cameron is set on making a film about the brutal realities of the victims of the atomic bomb in Hiroshima in 1945. It'll be based on Charles Pellegrino's upcoming book, Ghost of Hiroshima. And basically, he isn't afraid to go where Christopher Nolan didn't with Oppenheimer. And he's not afraid to call Christopher Nolan out on that. James Cameron says, quote, yeah, it's interesting what he stayed away from. Look, I love filmmaking, but I did feel that it was a bit of a moral cop-out. He said, I don't like to criticize another filmmaker's film, but there's only one brief moment where he sees some charred bodies in the audience, and then the film goes on to show how deeply, it moved him. He added that he felt Oppenheimer dodged the subject altogether, and he doesn't know if it was necessarily Christopher Nolan, the movie studio. He felt like it was a third rail they didn't want to touch, and he says, I want to go straight at that third rail. I'm just stupid that way. But do you want to see that?
I don't.
Right. That's what I'm thinking, too. Like,
Is it a feature or you said documentary?
no, he wants to make a movie, a film. So I don't know. We'll wait and see. Sometimes, just sometimes, it's fun to remember some of those wild controversies, especially in this day and age where people are canceled now. And maybe you've forgotten a couple, like when Angelina Jolie kissed her brother passionately on the lips, not once but twice.
Very weird.
On two separate occasions in 2000. It was when she won the Golden Globe and then the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress in Girl Interrupted.
Very weird.
Yeah.
They had the same lips.
They did, yeah. Was that about the same time she was wearing the blood?
Yeah. Billy
Bob's blood. So there was a lot
Very
going on there. How about this one?
And then Brad Pitt was like, I'm going to dump Jennifer Aniston
Yeah.
for this weirdo.
Let's not call her weird because I do adore her. In 1999, when Matthew McConaughey had the police called on him
Oh,
for a
bongos.
noise complaint
Yeah.
around 3 a.m., police arrived. He was naked playing the bongos and smoking as well.
I mean, that sounds great,
How loud was he banging on
The
those
cops
things?
would be like, all right, well, just keep it down a little.
I mean, he's in his own house, right?
Right?
Yeah.
Sounds like a fun night.
Or this one in 2004, when the driver of the Dave Matthews Band tour bus emptied the septic tank
Oh,
while
my
crossing a bridge over the Chicago River, which happened to be at the same time as a boat filled with tourists was passing by. I gotta say, having an RV now, I don't know how this happened.
It could not have been an accident, right?
No, it has to be an accident because you can't you dump when you are standing still. It's not something you do on the fly. It's like somebody forgot to close something and it just popped open at that time.
Over a bridge onto unsuspecting boat riders.
But I'm telling you, unless they pulled over right then or they had some string, unless I don't know how the tour bus works, but I'm assuming it's pretty similar. There are tour buses in some of the places where we stay, and they have the same septic kind of situation, if you will.
I just looked that up. What year was that?
That was in
It was a long time ago.
2004.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was 20-something years ago.
Yeah. Kind of crazy. Dana Carvey admitted that when he impersonated President Biden on SNL this past season, he tried to be delicate because Biden was, quote, compromised.
What does that mean?
I think he just means what a lot of people thought, that he didn't want to make too much fun of him.
Well, wasn't that the whole crux of him not running again?
Well, yes, but
right.
That was kind of before.
Oh, that's
when
right.
Dana Carvey was doing.
Another thing.
Yes, that was before he kind of exited. So
I thought he did a pretty good impression.
Oh, I think he did a great job. I thought the whole cast this year was fantastic. Gretchen Wilson, Pocahontas, who is most famous for her song Redneck Woman, is always called upon when someone needs an opinion on rednecks. She was doing an interview not too long ago and was asked to judge a redneck scorecard. I think this is pretty fun. A score of 1 is not redneck. A score of 10, very much so.
You might be a redneck.
Yes. The first item was a White Claw, and she said that doesn't even belong on this list. That's how low it doesn't qualify.
Oh, okay.
White Claw is not redneck.
White Claw is the seltzer
Yes.
drink.
Boiled peanuts, she put that at a 6.
Yeah, yeah. Just drive through on your way to Destin.
Yeah.
You see all the boiled peanut
That's
stands.
right. Matcha tea, again, she said it's green, it's gross, does not belong on the list. Here's the one she gave the highest, and I got to say, I'm kind of a fan. Fried pickles. And she said that's a 9.
All right. Oh, it is? On the redneck list?
On the redneck list.
Question.
Yep.
Fried pickle chips?
Chips.
Or fried pickle spears?
No, chips. Always the chips.
It's got to be the chips.
Joe, you like the chip? Okay, so I worked at J Bucks.
You're going for the spear?
And
you
they
don't
did-
get a nut. No.
They did fried pickle spears. They were out of this world.
I'm still going with the chips.
Try them.
I've tried it. I just don't.
Okay.
It's not my jam. And then last, they showed her a picture of a Tesla Cybertruck. Gretchen said, absolutely not. What is that, a spaceship? That's a -1 on the redneck scale.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I thought that was fun.
We were driving down the street and one passed us, and Finn goes, "What is that car?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "I know, buddy.
Yeah.
We're still trying to figure it out."
Nobody knows.
My favorite Jeff Foxworthy joke.
Mm-hmm.
And back in the day when You Might Be a Redneck
Yes.
was all the rage.
Yeah.
And this is my favorite. If your grandmother doesn't take the cigarette out of her mouth to tell the highway patrol trooper to kiss her butt, you might be a redneck.
He had some good ones. I'm not going to lie. Few birthdays today. Missy Elliott is 54. Pamela Anderson is 58. Dan Aykroyd, 73. Fred Schneider from the B-52s,
Oh,
74.
Fred Schneider from the B-52s.
Yes. Yeah. Did I say 54s? 54s?
Did you say 54s?
Or I say 74 and I'm losing my mind. Deborah
He's
Harry.
B-52-year-old.
Yes. Deborah Harry is the big 80.
80. Remember they were supposed to play
Yeah.
Evolution Fest and they had to pull out?
And then Jamie Farr from MASH. Of course,
Is he
Klinger.
still?
91.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty cool. That is
Klinger.
your evening entertainment report here on the Big 550 KTRS.
Shop Overstock Outlet, a family-owned business and the best random store around where you'll never know what they'll have. New products arrive daily from the big box stores. 2 locations in Lake St. Louis and Warrenton. Overstock Outlet wishes you a happy and safe Independence Day while we celebrate the freedoms that so many have fought so hard to protect.
At Ruffino's Painting, we do residential and commercial, interior and exterior painting. We even refinish kitchen cabinets and decks. Whether it's a simple recoat, a color change, or a complete makeover, we'll work together to achieve your desired results. We are fully insured and a cut above the rest. Find us on Facebook at Ruffino's Painting or call 636-655-0820 and at Ruffino'sPainting.com.
The storms are back, the wind, the hail, the damage to the roof. And when the roof gets damaged, who do you call? You call John Bill Roofing. But the storms are back. You know who else follows the storms? The storm chasers. These are
down to Manchester. Westbound 70 is crowded coming in from Illinois to the Musial Bridge. Eastbound 70 bogs down at the press section downtown. Road work on eastbound 5570 at the exits to 64 and Illinois Route 3 has traffic backed up across the Poplar Street Bridge to Jefferson, and southbound 55 is crowded from Gasconade to South Broadway. This traffic report is brought to you by Aldon Indoor Air Quality Specialists. Repairs are cheaper than replacements. That's a myth. Stop pouring money into that old AC. We'll buy back your old AC system and give you $500 plus 0% financing for 24 months. Your family stays cool and your wallet does too. Visit al-don.com to learn more about Daikin Fit Systems. From the KTRS Traffic Center, I'm Captain Paul Kopsky on the Big 550 KTRS.
All right, so I will say this. I am terrible with names.
I wish I was better as well. There used to be somebody at Channel 5 who just kind of call you whatever, like stuck with them, like, hey, tattoo, or hey, like he just had a nickname. And I think it was because he couldn't remember your name, not that he had nicknames for everybody.
Maybe it was a power thing.
Could be.
Like, you don't deserve a name.
You know what?
You're
Possibly.
Tattoo now.
He was nicer than that.
I'm going to start calling you Tattoo. Hey, Tattoo.
The plane. I am, small enough for that.
Oh, the Hervé Villachet reference of the show. So just try being a bartender where you see these people all the time, and I have to ask hey, John, what was that guy's name? You've been here for 2 years.
Now, see, it's the opposite. We go in somewhere, and we usually sit at the bar. And I'm like, oh, what is that bartender's name? And I actually have started writing it down in notes so I can kind of look at it on my phone.
Well, they say it's like school teachers. You as the teacher, you're one person. They have to learn one person's name.
Oh, my mom used to practice saying names all the time before the school year started.
Really?
Yeah.
Mrs. Glaus. But then Mrs. Glaus has to learn 30 kids' names all at once. So that being said, I need to get better at being better with people's names. I'll see some people out in Newtown, and I won't even say hi to them because I'm like, I know it's Rick. I know it's Rick.
Well, you don't have to say the name, but I have heard if you say it when they say, hi, Josh, you say back their name.
Right.
As far as that, or you go, hey, I'm Josh, and you say, oh, hi, Josh, nice to meet you.
Josh, nice to meet you.
I don't know that works for me.
There is a mentalist, and he's one of the top mentalists, and these are the magicians that focus on tricks of illusions of the mind, mentalist. Isn't there a show called The Mentalist?
Yes.
What's that about? He says this is the surefire way to remember someone's name. You have to find a link between that person's name and something about their physical appearance. So he goes on to say that if their name is Mike and they've got big black hair, say, oh, that's Mike. He looks like a microphone. Microphone Mike with the big black hair, Mike.
Okay.
And then he says if they're wearing a striped shirt, think of a striped microphone. With the big black hair, that's Mike.
But then what if he doesn't wear a striped shirt the next time?
What if he gets a haircut?
Yeah. What if?
And he says alliteration helps. Microphone Mike, Stripey Steve, Tall Tim, Green Jean.
Okay.
Okay. And he says the most important part of this, though, and this is where I fail every time, is that you actually have to listen when someone tells you their name.
Yeah, we got to start with that.
And I do it all the time. I say, hey, my name's Josh. What's your name? And they tell me, and it goes,
You've already moved on.
Flies right over my head. 4 seconds after you tell me your name, it's whoa, it's gone.
Yeah, well, at least we know where we're starting.
So if I'm, all right, I'm looking at Heidi right now, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Heidi, physical appearance. Not the girl from the Alps.
I thought for sure you were going to say hot.
Hot Heidi.
For the alliteration. No?
Tattoo. Hey, tattoo.
All right, with that, let's wrap this show up with some randoms.
1 million seconds is about 12 days. 1 billion seconds.
I can't do my mind cannot wrap around this.
Follow me here because this is wild. 1 billion seconds is 31 years. That is the difference between a millionaire and a billionaire.
Whoa.
A millionaire is 12 seconds. A billionaire is 31 years. See? That's...
Is that true?
I mean, the ultra rich, we just had the interview last week, the ultra rich are that much richer than us.
Which I love that title, the have and the have yachts. Is that not brilliant?
A great title for a book.
It's a great title.
About billionaires.
Mm-hmm.
The first build-it-yourself furniture item IKEA created was a leaf-shaped side table called the Lovette in 1956.
Okay, the Lovette.
It's called the Bjorn and Gordon.
Uh-huh.
The Flurgan. The reason doctors wear blue or green scrubs is because those are on the opposite side of the color wheel from red and pink. So it helps them distinguish their clothes from the operating table.
Ah.
Disney World and Disneyland employees who dress up as characters and walk around the parks have to go through special training to learn that character's signature. Can't just be signing your name on someone's signature book.
It's got to look exactly like Mickey.
See what
I did there?
Or Tigger.
I set you up for that.
I know, you did. Oh, hey, folks. And finally, Eyes Wide Shut has the record for most consecutive days of filming without a day off at 400 days straight.
What does?
Eyes Wide Shut. Stanley Kubrick,
yes.
Tom Cruise, Nicole Kidman.
And it was a weird movie.
You want to be in a Stanley Kubrick movie? Great. You have to work 400 a year, almost a year and a half straight.
With no days
off. No days off.
Wow. No, thank you. You guys, with that, we say good night. And thank you so much for hanging out with us on this Tuesday afternoon. Hopefully, you'll meet us right back here tomorrow, starting at 3 o'clock. And until then, see if you can put a smile on somebody's face.
Whatever gets you through the night, it's all right, it's all right. Bet your money all your life, it's all right, it's all right.
Who are you? I'm future you. Constipation with belly pain still coming back? Yeah. Mia, our doctor figured it out. She said it's irritable bowel syndrome with constipation, or IBS-C, and Linzess could help you get ahead of it.
Linzess linaclotide is a prescription medicine that treats IBS-C in adults. It's not a laxative. It's a once-daily pill that helps you get ahead of your symptoms. It's proven to help you have more frequent and complete